some virus or something that you have. But you visualize this. I'll tell you, I'll give you the background first, and then I'll tell you the visualization. They found out years ago, well over 20 years ago, they found out that if people visualized, when they had cancer, if they visualized the healthy cells in the body fighting off the cancer cells, that they had a better chance of getting better, that they had a better chance of recovering, of going into remission. And but then there were some people who did some other studies, and they found that it even is more effective with cancer if they visualized those cancerous cells as returning to normal and coming back into harmony with the body. Because so here's the cancer story. Cancer story goes like this. I'm listening to the radio one day, and there's a specialist on there, cancer specialist on there, they're interviewing him. And they're asking him about what we're going to do about cancer, and he's giving them the explanation. He says, here's what happens with cancer. You have a cell in your body who decides that it's not part of the rest of the body. He says, and then that cell decides that it's not getting, now this is how he's talking, it's not getting what it needs. So what it does is it tries to get all the blood that it can, and then it sends little copies of itself out into the bloodstream, and that's how this crazy cell gets other cells to go crazy with it. And he says it's insane because it thinks it actually wants to kill the body that keeps it alive. So it thinks it's not part of the body anymore, and it sets up this plan to get what it can from the body so that it can grow. So it's only concerned with then eating, getting what it wants, right? And so I'm seeing this picture as he's telling. The cell has a sense of lack. This is what's going on. The cell has a sense of lack. And so it wants to get all the blood supply it can, and it wants to reproduce itself. It wants to give its ideas, its characteristics to others. It wants to grow. So all it wants to do is eat and have sex. Right? I mean, reproduce itself, right? That's what it wants to do. It just wants to keep reproducing itself and eat. That's all it wants to do. And so the body then says, well, this cell has gone crazy. And so it sets up barriers around the cell to isolate it from the rest of the body. And then the cell starts to get crafty. And it starts to figure out ways, by the way, we're talking antisocial ways, to get what it wants. And it tricks some part of the body to give it its supply. This is if it's successful, right? If it's successful and the cancer grows, it tricks some other part of the body to give it the blood supply. And then through that same conduit where the blood supply comes to it, it sends off copies of itself. And this is called metastasization, right? So cancer grows. And I thought, when I heard this, I said, this is the story of addiction. And then not only that, as I thought about it more, I realized this is actually the story of a consumer society. So I made the analogy that, look, what's going on here in the body, when the body gets cancer, it's the same way as when somebody's an addict. They think they're isolated. They have lack. They want what they want. They want it now. They're going to figure out a way. They're going to trick. The society sees them doing what they're doing, and they set up barriers around them, try to isolate them from the rest of society. But the ones of us who are successful for a period of time, we figure out a way to trick the rest of society to give us what we want. Now the cell has a switch. Every cell has a switch in it that the doctors call the suicide switch. And when they malfunction, they're actually automatically programmed, if you will, to flip the suicide switch and just die. But the cancer cells figure out a way not to flip the switch. Well, so they're talking to the doctor about getting rid of the cancer. And he said, well, one of the things that we're working on is to figure out how we can activate the suicide switch in these cancerous cells. And he said, that has some promise. He says, but this thing that we've been doing lately with this meditation seems to be very promising. He said, we're going to work on all kinds of drugs and therapies and things like that. But he said, you do not know how much the patient has to do with the progress of this disease. And so if we can get patients to meditate and get quiet while they're going through their therapy, whatever it is, and actually try to reintegrate these cells back into the body, that we think we're going to have a lot greater success than we've had in the past. So, back to us. So if we're sick, if there's something in us that has gone awry, in the body, I mean, remember first of all that it has its origins in the mind, because everything has its origins in the mind. And I'm not talking about you consciously made yourself sick. It's all subconscious. You don't realize it. You don't know. You don't realize why you signed up for it. But you did. And again, I'll say the disclaimer. I'm sharing my beliefs. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just sharing the ideas. Take what you need, leave the rest. But so, you sit quietly and you visualize the disrupted area as being brought back into harmony. And I'm just going to tell you how to do it. It's just the simplest thing. Give love. Give love to the body. See yourself loving these cells, these organs, these disrupted areas back into harmony with the body. Visualize them coming into harmony. See them, like, just however this works in your mind, visualize them coming together and releasing all of whatever poison it is that is in them. And when I say poison, I don't necessarily mean a physical substance, but releasing these poisons so that then they can function as a member of the body again. And when you find yourself at odds with the world, visualize yourself as a cell in the body of humanity. Greater than that, a cell in the body of God. A cell, a member, as they used to say in the old church, a member of the body of Christ. Visualize that you are a member, and put yourself back into harmony with the rest of the body. And when there is someone who you are in conflict with, who you are mad at, who you are judging as being less than, sit down and get quiet and visualize them healed. Love them back into the body. Bring them back into the church. And when I say church, I don't necessarily mean this building. Love them back into harmony with the rest of us so that we can be whole and well and healthy.